1, 2, 3. Most def and Talib Kweli. Come on, man. You know that song?
No. Listen.
What you mean no?
What's up, guys? This is your girl, Amanda, a.k.a. Butter P. Butter P.
And
Butter
this is
P. Other people call me Mantequilla.
This is Konata Small in the building.
In the building, Konata with a G.
You know what I
This
mean?
is our Small World podcast. Today we are talking about hip hop.
Hip hop.
Konata, what's your first hip hop song? Go.
My first hip hop song. It was a song by Ice Cube called Davy Crockett. Yeah,
What's your
it was
first
a
Christian
ratchet.
hip hop song that you wrote?
Jeez, I don't know. That I wrote? That I wrote?
Yes.
What's it go? First things first. First things first. I
Pop
know.
up, freaks all the
No,
honeys.
no,
Oh,
the
that's
verse
not
was
it.
different. No,
The Christian
but
version.
the Christian version. I redid the song. First things first. I pray. Start reading my Bible. John 3:16. It's quite reliable. This is so stupid. But yeah, that was the first rap song I ever wrote. I rewrote One More Chance, which was my favorite hip hop Biggie song at the time.
Okay. So what was your first favorite Jay-Z song?
So my first Jay-Z song, listen, I came on the vibe of Carter a little late, but it was H to the Izzo.
H to the Izzo.
That song, that came on, and it was the Michael Jackson sample. Kanye was a part of that. It all just made sense to me.
What are your thoughts on Reasonable Doubt, the album? Let the people
Okay,
know.
so
Where are you
listen,
from? Where are you from? What
I'm
city
from
are you
Brooklyn,
born and raised?
all right? I'm from
Is
Brooklyn,
Brooklyn
right down
in
the
the
street,
house?
without a doubt.
Let's go.
You're but listen, when I was in
Babe,
Brooklyn,
I just gave you an Ali.
you just gave me
Just
an
go with
alley.
it.
Okay. All right, so Reasonable Doubt is one of the most noteworthy, iconic albums in hip hop. However, I myself have yet to listen to the whole thing. It is what it is. But you can ask me about the Nas album. I have
I'm not
listened to
asking
that
you about
whole
Nas.
thing.
I'm asking you about.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the era of hip hop that I was in, that was hot. But I was listening to underground hip hop at that point because I didn't like mainstream hip hop. And when Reasonable Doubt came out, I guess it would have been like a borderline because it wasn't that big, but it also wasn't underground. So my underground was Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Wordsworth, and I could go on.
Because when I met you, you wasn't really like in the hip hop.
No, I was by the time you met me because I was already rapping. But before that, previous to that, because now you trying to get crazy, I was in the Boys to Men. That's my era right there.
You're R&B guy.
I was an R&B guy. So all throughout middle school, high school, one of the first hip hop songs that I actually memorized, oddly enough, even though I was into R&B, was Das Effects. They want
Das
effects.
Effects.
Bum stiggity bum hum. I got the bum so I could be by your foe diddly do. Here I comes to Peter Piper. I could keep going, and none of that stuff made any sense.
What are your thoughts on KRS-One?
Come on, man.
All right, so Boyz II Men. When I met you, you was a huge Boyz II Men fan. You're definitely
Still
an
am.
R&B guy. Music Soul Child. What
Music
was it,
Soul
what was it
Child.
about
That's the
that
first
type of
album you
music?
got me, girl.
That was that
You know
first
what I'm
one.
saying?
You know what I'm saying?
First
I
Christmas
knew
he was
wasn't really
rocking.
like, you know, I was like, oh, okay, we on a different wave.
Oh
He
my
likes,
gosh.
you definitely were into R&B and stuff like that. So what was it about like the R&B music that?
When I was growing up, you know, I sang. Like I sang in my elementary school graduation. I would always be singing these Tevin Campbell songs.
Can we talk?
So, you know, that was, I don't know why I gravitated to it more, but maybe it was because I grew up around women, you know, my mom, my sister, you know, so for the most part, I wasn't surrounded by as many men, and the men that I was surrounded around wasn't really listening to hip hop. They was listening to reggae, and reggae lends itself to more singing as well. Any Bob Marley songs, even
Yeah.
Buju Banton, they're singing these songs, you know what I'm saying? So that was more natural to me. Hip hop came very, very, very
Yeah.
late.
Tell us a little bit about your Jamaican background, because a lot of people actually don't know that you're Jamaican.
Yes. So
So what was it like growing up in a Jamaican household, Jamaican roots?
it was
Was
funny
your dad a
because
Rasta?
my dad was a Rasta. He's Rastafarian, full blown. He had long dreads. this is a weird story, but when he cut his dreads, he actually gave his dreads to my grandmother, and she made a pillowcase out of this hair. And some people would today be like, "That's gross," but you know, it's part of the heritage, and I thought it was dope. Anyways, so growing up, you know, in New York and Brooklyn, being Jamaican, it wasn't that hard. There's a lot of Jamaicans in Brooklyn, but like sometimes when my friends would come over before we went to school, before we got on the bus to go to junior high school, my mom would have made a big pot of porridge. And they would just leave in their houses with nothing. So they would come to our house and eat with me before we left to get on the city bus to go to junior high school. So all that was very different, you know, like I remember one time my mom screamed out the door, you know,
Konata, you better behave.
I said that in the album, man. She said, Konata, come eat your rice and peas. And I remember my friends like would say that all the time. Like when it was time, I was like, yo, I'm about to go home. Konata, come eat your rice and peas. You know what I'm saying? And they were American. They were like, you know, African American families, you know, from North Carolina and all these places that moved to New York. And then I had a few Caribbean friends, you know, that understood, you know, the Jamaican culture. But we weren't that far apart because, again, in New York, everyone's culture kind of just bleeds into everyone else's. So, but being Jamaican, you know, I don't know what it is, but you know, my mom raised us with a very strong sense of pride of how we was, you know, how we would present ourselves. Like I couldn't just talk any kind of slang. Like I had to talk properly, you know, which I noticed when I moved here to Florida. It was pointed out to me. But yeah, so, you know, but as far as Jamaicans go, my mom, I grew up in like a party household in that we would always be going out. We would always be going to some sort of club where kids could go, where music was playing. We go to the skating rink. I think I told you, like when I was a kid, loud music didn't bother me. We could fall asleep on speakers and be straight. Me and my sister was always out and about. My dad, I would learn later, was in a reggae group, you know, so maybe some of the music influence comes from his side, because my mom, she tries to sing, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she don't got that ministry.
She ain't got that ministry now. Yeah. And then you know, I was always into fashion. That's a big thing. You know, in our family, we would always go on the weekends. We would go down to New York, go to Manhattan, go to the Macy's there, and just, you know, my mom would buy a bunch of stuff. You know, I would steal a bunch of stuff, you know. And it was weird because it's like my mom didn't know it, but at the same time, one of her friends would influence me. Hey, why don't you grab that for me or grab that for me? And I was just a kid, so I didn't really know what I was doing, you know, until I got older. And I was already, again, living here when I found out, man, I wasn't supposed to be doing that. But I didn't know any better. You know what I'm saying?
Booster.
I was a booster.
So what took you from New York City? How did you end up in South Florida? Because you were from Brooklyn, New York. What takes you from Brooklyn, New York to South Florida?
You know, in Brooklyn, you just statistically the odds are just against you. At least when I was growing up, you know, it was big. The crack era was, you know, bursting out the seams, and you know, late 90s when it was really revving up, people was just getting murdered for stupid stuff, sneakers, clothes, 8-ball jackets, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I had a crowd. Like everybody that grows up in those areas has a crowd of friends, and for the most part, my friends was good. It was good dudes, but not all of them were. You know, well, you know, I had a friend that always was in and out of juvie. I had a few people in my building, same scenario. So statistically, it just wasn't in my favor to stay there. And then, you know, while I was there, I witnessed so many things, man, people getting shot. And that summer that my mom decided to leave, there was a huge shootout in my area, and it was very close to where I was. And me and my friend were in the park, and it happened there. These guys was arguing. This guy put out a machine gun, of all things, shooting it up in the air, shooting it through a crowd. It was just very scary. So I rode home, you know, with my friend on the handlebar. You know, I used to ride with your friend. We riding, you know.
Dirty.
Yeah. And while we were riding, I remember looking back and seeing a crowd of people running. And I was like, man, if we fall off this bike, we're gonna get trampled because these people are so scared. They're just running for their life, you know, and ain't nobody gonna pick us. That's what we thought. Funny thing about New Yorkers is there's a bunch of good people there. They probably would have picked us up and helped us out. Anyways, I got home and you know, my mom saw my face. She saw that I was a little bit fazed by the situation, and she's, you know, what's wrong? What's going on? She said, were you there? She said, I just heard the shootout. Were you around? I said, yeah. And I just asked her something that changed everything. I said, you know, what happens when you die? Because up until that point, I had not really, you know, had those kinds of conversation. Yeah. When she heard me ask it in the way that I was asking, I was 12 years old at that time, or 11 or 12, one of those. And she said, by the time you're a teenager, I'm going to move you out of here. And that's when she made the decision to start the plan. So that by the time I was 13, you know, a year and maybe 2 months later, we was in a U-Haul truck driving. And it was because of me, you know. And there's some other things that happened, and, you know, it's not worth getting into, but there were just things that happened. Like, you would think at 11 years old, how much trouble can you get into? Mm-hmm. You can get into a lot of trouble.
So what do you think, like, when you came to Florida, you know, of course life changes because the culture is different. What kept you out, like, of trouble when you got to South Florida?
I mean, a lot of things. First of all, when I went to my new neighborhood, it was just, Florida's very different, especially when I moved here. We moved to this neighborhood. It was a nice neighborhood. Anyone that moves from New York to Florida, usually the money in New York allows you to buy nice things in Florida. Yeah, so we move into this neighborhood, and it's all, you know, Caucasian. For the most part, I think us and 2 other Jamaican families, which is why we moved there. My mom's friends lived there. And, yeah, it was just a change of pace, man. I just had the nature and the sun and pool, and it was just all fun. And it was very enlightening, you know. And then I went to school, you know, with all kinds of people, at least on my bus, only to go to an all-black high school.
True that, yo, because you went out to
right.
It's like, whoa.
So I think what ultimately changed everything is I became part of this church, and it was just somebody in my neighborhood invited us. And when we went, I went to the church, but I didn't go. It's weird. I went to church, but I didn't go for church. They offered this thing called Royal Rangers. And it's crazy because I'm coming from the streets.
If you don't know what Royal Rangers is,
oh my
it's
gosh.
like the Christian Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts, yeah, it's Boy Scout, yeah. And I had never experienced it. It's weird. I had never experienced anything like that, like trees and nature and
shout
knives.
Out to the Royal Rangers.
Shout out, you know what I'm saying? Cut and
Assemblies
chop
of God,
cards.
you know chop,
you know what I mean? Boom. So I got introduced to that stuff, and, you know, we was in the woods. We was playing Capture the Flag, which is like a hyped up tag. You know what I'm saying? And all that stuff allowed me to continue going to that church, basically. And then the church started like this basketball league. Then I became part of that basketball league, and that's what really solid. I was like, okay, you know, basketball was a big thing in my life at the time. And yeah, God got a hold of my heart throughout all of that stuff. He was just getting little shout outs of the words here and there. Because if I'm honest, the first 3 or 4 years, I don't even remember hearing about God, and I'm sure they was. Or maybe I just didn't care.
You're like leaning over to your friend. Who's this Jesus they're talking?
Yeah, what are you talking about,
Jesus?
Man? When we go outside and play this, you know what I'm saying? Cut some trees or something. Play with this BB gun. But yeah, ultimately that's what happened. It was just a total enlightening. It was different from anything that I had experienced. Florida at the time, at least Fort Lauderdale where I lived. Yeah. It was a new experience, and that's what I needed.
Yeah.
It was different than.
So when did you start rapping? When did you start spitting these bars? You know what I'm saying? This yo 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 yo. When did you become a rapper professionally?
Professionally?
Not professionally, but when did you start rapping? How did you get into hip hop?
So basketball.
You know, back then you was listening to Shy.
Oh my God.
You was listening to Boyz II Men. Fire. We can't sing all all the songs because I think they might cut us off or whatever. But Boyz II Men, he was listening to Music Soul Child.
Music Soul Child came later.
He was listening to Silk.
No, I wasn't listening. So
yeah, you better have a check it. You was too young for that. You was too young for that.
For me.
That was, it was just, you know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I started rapping. Basketball was the conduit to a lot of this stuff. I was playing basketball. We went to go do a Hoop It Up tournament. It's a 3-on-3 tournament down in Miami. We put on Busta Rhymes had just come out. What's the name of the album? The Hoo-Ha. Got You All in Check. That one, the one that changed everything with the African motif or whatever. So we was driving, listening to that. And back then, when you got a single, it had the instrumentals after the single.
Yeah, facts.
So we put the instrumental on, and we was just.
They don't do that no more.
They don't do that no more. Yeah, you gotta search for instrumentals. Yeah. But we put it on, and one of the guys in the car just started freestyling, just making up words. Freestyling used to be done over beats off the top of your head. That's what
so
ciphers
let's just school y'all on
really
freestyling real quick. Freestyling is the art form of rapping off the top of the head, also known as the dome. Not pre-written lyrics, not something that you've memorized. Literally, I throw you a word and you got to go freestyle, right? It's freestyling. It's just off the top of the head. And you know what I mean? You come up with these rhymes. And that's what freestyling was. Well, that's what we used to do over beats.
And ciphers were the same thing. It was a freestyle contest between two people off the top of the head. Yes, I do remember.
He was impressed.
I was impressed.
These bars. He was like, yo, she got bars.
She got bars and a good voice. You know what I'm saying? That was important. Because people don't understand, like, Trina, Trina's dope. You know, I'm not taking any shots at her. But when she first came out, her voice, it was like, you know, past the hook, I was like, I can't. But you had a voice, just like Lauryn Hill. When Lauryn Hill used to rap for the Fugees, before people saw a picture of her, everyone thought it was like a young boy, because her voice was just so prominent on the record. She just has
a presence. Yeah, I have a presence.
He's a presence on the mic. Anyways, so we're over there. We're over there rapping and freestyling. And one more time, ciphers were done like this a cappella cipher where you write in and you know your opponent and stuff. It is dope. You know, don't get me wrong, it's dope. But that's not what it used to be. You know what I'm saying? You had to do all that stuff on rhythm, right? You had to catch the beat spot at the right time. Mm-hmm. Go watch 8 Mile, and you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so that's what we was doing. We was in the car, and oddly enough, there was a talent show coming up. It's called the Gong Show, and the guy that I was rapping with, he knew about it, and he was like, "Yo, we should put a song together." And we was just freestyling. Never done this before in my life, but this is after I wrote. Your Biggie remix or whatever. So I was like, okay, I can get to these cadences or whatever. And by the way, a lot of Biggie's flows came from the reggae influence, just so we know. And so is Busta Rhymes. So a lot of those rhythms. So flow was a big part, and it's always been a big part of the way that I rap. The flow has to be really good, because some people, they don't really care about that. Anyways, so because the flow was good and blah, 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 we ended up doing the song together. Maybe 2 weeks later, we're in front of a stage. And it's from somebody who doesn't necessarily go in front of stages. And we did it. We rapped. It was garbage, I'm sure, but it was good enough of an intro to the sport of rapping that it caught my interest, you know?
I remember when I first met you guys, I was fresh off the boat, right? And I remember I came and they said, I think maybe you told me you were rapping. I don't know. Somebody said you guys were rapping. And I was like,
Robert.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know,
that's cute.
That's cute. That's cute. These little Christian guys rapping. That's cute. And I remember you guys came. What song was it? Overcomer, I think.
Yeah. Look at you.
And so I remember y'all started rapping, and I think that was you guys just did that song. Mm-hmm. And I remember listening to the lyrics, and I was just like, yo, like they're legit good. Like it wasn't even just what y'all was talking about, because what you guys were talking about was dope, but you guys didn't come off corny like at all. And I was like, yo, this is actually fire. And because that's what I was so into at the time, like music was my life at the time, so I was a pretty good judge about music, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be This is gonna be the tipping point if this fool ever get my number. I just remember I remember hearing y'all, and I was like, man, like this is actually really, really good stuff. And then you told me like later that you had just recently started rapping, like you hadn't been rapping that long, and I was like, what? And it just seemed like it was something that was a natural gift to you. Like the other two guys to me sounded like they had just started rapping. Like to you, I mean, for you, you didn't come off to me almost like as a rapper, really. It was almost like more poetic.
Yeah.
And so when you told me you were into R&B, I said, oh, that makes sense to me because legit, I was more into like commercial music. I was into like R&B rhythms, flows. And so when I heard you rap, I was like, yo, he has a different approach to it. And when you told me that you had just started rapping, I was just like, yo, that's crazy. Like you just started this. I've been doing this for like ever, and I don't sound that good.
You sounded good. The funny thing is, it was the second song that I wrote. So it was after that Trash song. It was we did another song, did it for a Wu-Tang beat, and then this was the first original song. The beat was original, and we did that song. And I remember writing that particular song, and while I was writing it, I knew that it was like a God moment. Because before that, any music that I did was just about doing the music. But this particular form of music, because I had never done it before, and because by the time I started doing it, I was already 19, 20 years old, way past when you should have started anything.
Yeah.
You know? And it came so naturally. I remember writing the lyrics and being like, man, God, this is crazy. And there's a term for it, which people say, I forgot what it's called. Jay-Z talks about it. Kanye talks about it. It's like a zone that you go in when you're writing. And it happens to all artists, you know? And that's what happened immediately with this. And I had never experienced that in anything else that I had done in my life. So it just felt like a God download, you know? And I always say I never rapped any other way than rapping, talking about the attributes of God and what he had done in my life. I've never done it.
So I think what's dope that a lot of people don't know, you know, we've traveled like just everywhere, right? We have had the pleasure of traveling to countries, right? Being able to see, like, you know, you being able to do music in different countries and all this stuff. Part of your story is that you were super shy. Like what's crazy was I was sharing with Zoe the other day. The kids were asking, you know, well, where do I get this from? And where do I get this from? And Zoe's a little bit more reserved in certain things.
Like me.
And I'm definitely more vocal. Like somebody mess with me, like I'm gonna let you don't touch me. Well, for her, she's like, oh. I said, you know, you're just more reserved like your dad. And so I was telling her, I was like, actually, you know, your dad was really shy. And actually, when I tell people who know you that you're shy, they're like, Konata? Yeah, right. And I'm like, I was telling Risha the other day, I was like, Konata's very shy. But when people get to know you, they're like, this clown? Like, not clown, like you're not a clown. You know, you're funny.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're like an actual funny guy. But part of your story is that you were actually really quiet.
Yeah.
And scared to talk. And then you get this gift of, because that's what it is, right? You got a gift of rapping. And then years later, like, you're traveling the world doing music, and now we are where we are at. And now your music is being heard globally. Like, how does that make you feel when you think about, like, the journey that you've gone through? Like, because music was not something that you were a kid from Brooklyn, because most kids from Brooklyn is either trying to be a sports person or they trying to be a rapper. Like, that wasn't you. Like, you weren't trying to be a rapper. So, like, when you look at your journey, how do you process that?
It's like you said, when I was growing up, like, I would, you know, want to sing. I aspired to sing, you know, but I don't know if it was to sing to be famous. I just wanted to be a good singer, maybe just jump on a couple stages and sing or whatever. But using a gifting to do so. Any other sort of speaking out loud or any of that kind of stuff, I just wasn't, you know, that just wasn't my lane. And not that I was, you know, reserved, because you can't be a punk or you don't want to be a punk in New York. So if anyone messes with you, you step up, quiet or not, you ready. But in terms of, like, speaking out in front of people, like doing a speech, you know, I tell the story all the time. English, I'm here, senior year, I'm killing it. I'm in an advanced English class. And it's the end of the semester, senior year. and we have to do part of our final was we had to do an oral presentation along with two other things. The other two things I killed. You had to write something else. So the oral presentation, lady said, you can do whatever you want. Remember, I wasn't singing in front of crowds at that point. I wasn't rapping. I'd never rapped before. No poetry, none of that kind of stuff. So I would have had to do some sort of oral report of something,
Yeah.
you know. And I went to her and I was like, hey, you know, and I went to her after class. I mean, I was
How
the
can I
type of
fail
kid.
this without failing the class?
I was the type of kid that when it was time, this is who I was. So if we had a textbook, right, and we was about to, everyone was reading different parts. As the parts got closer and closer to me, you know what I'm saying? Shout out. As the parts got closer and closer to me, my heart would be beating because I had to read out loud. Even in church at certain points when they would ask me to look up a Bible verse. And then it would be so crazy that when I was about to read, the thing would be shaking and I would be, even though I read it already, I rehearsed it because I had time to read my part. I was so scared of my own voice being heard loud that I would cry. I would sound like I can't read. While my father, like I just sounded ridiculous, even though I could read it, you know, but that's how bad my nerves were. So anyways, I go to this teacher and I'm like, hey, what's the highest grade I can get if I don't do this oral report? And she said, why wouldn't you do it? You're an A student. I mean, you have a great, you know, your writing is good, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah. But if I don't do this oral presentation, what is the highest grade I can get? And she said, you're going to get a C. I said, all right, I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, that's how petrified I was to be speaking in front of people. So to go from that to touring the world and you know, doing music, and the music led to me speaking, you know, because you have to transition between songs and blah, blah, blah. And that's how I got comfortable speaking. And I've always been somewhat of a clown around people that I know. But if you don't know me, then you wouldn't know that. Right. You don't see that. You don't get to see that. You ain't part of the inner circle. You know what I'm saying? Risha, you part of the inner circle now. You guys all part
Speaking of
of
inner circle, I'm going to take this opportunity for a quick commercial break. We have some amazing friends, right?
Boom.
Who have written some books. So shout out to them. So the first one we got is our boy, Juan Vidal. He wrote this book called Rap Dad. If you don't have it, why not? Go get it. It's a phenomenal book. It's a story of family and the subculture that shaped a generation. It's an amazing book. Go get it.
And then we got this one, Brand Storytelling by our close friend, Midi Rodriguez, also wife to one of my best friends, Luis Rodriguez. And this is an amazing book as well. You talk about being a voice and making sure your voice is heard. This is something that you need to read.
Absolutely. And that could be for any organization, for your own personal brand, church, whatever. And then we got our girl, Nadine Raphael. She wrote a memoir called But God. But God. It's an amazing story. It's about her life, stuff that she's gone through, and how she ended up in prison and God met her in a prison cell and changed her life.
Bang, bang.
And I'm not going to tell her your story. So go get the book, read it, and then hit me up and say thank you.
Yes. And when you read it, you're going to see places and things that we grew up around, because she grew up like
Brooklyn. She's from Brooklyn.
half a mile from me.
Yeah.
We all experienced that
Crazy.
aside from the jail thing.
So go check it out. But God. And
This is somebody I want to be my friend, Francis Chan, Forgotten God. Holla at me.
And
Francis
then Christine
Chan.
can't. She don't even have a promo. And Andy Stanton definitely.
Yeah.
So anyway, go support them. Those are our friends. We have amazing friends who are doing great things.
Yes.
So back to regularly scheduled
programming.
You know what I'm saying? Back to the business of hip hop.
You know what I'm saying?
So.
So you know. So going back to your question, how does it feel to go from that to this? I mean, it's amazing, you know? It's amazing. And what makes it amazing is sometimes I get in the conversations, I get hit up by the old friends that I had in New York when we were kids. And they're just as blown away as me, you know? My dad, he lives in Brooklyn now. When I get to shoot him over something or shoot by way of my sister, you know, something that I got on a commercial or on Fortnite or whatever the case is, you know, it's a dope feeling, you know, to know that your music is heard in Europe and Germany and right here in the States.
You know what I love about God?
Everything.
Besides everything, I love that, you know, he can take the things that hinder us, right? And the very things that hinder us or scare us will be the very thing he uses as his stage. And I love that, you know.
I can't take any credit for it.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's not me.
Like you can't be like, I'm a natural speaker. It's like, no, I actually am not.
I can't say, yo, I practice rapping. It's what I always wanted to do when I was growing up. We was in the streets, bars. No, I wasn't doing that. You know, it literally happened because of him.
Yeah.
You know, God is good.
Yeah. I think, you know, when I look at it, of course, we've known each other for so long now. But I always, when I get to see like your work ethic and how you've become a father, how you've become as a husband, as a friend, a leader, just all these things, and knowing your upbringing, you know, just to see how God's hand is in all those things, right? Everyone gets to a point that you're kind of on this a fork in the road, right? And you have two choices, and you got to choose one, right? And it's just like, man, I really hope I choose well, right?
Yeah.
And that's what life is. Life is a bunch of choices, and that, you know, but I think God's grace is in our choice. Like, I think there's a way that he nudges us with the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
Hey, go left, right? Because there's something that he wants to do with the areas of our life that we find brokenness in, right? And then there's stuff that we can possibly make a choice that, man, if we make that wrong choice, it can actually rob you from what God is wanting to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, being able to see just your journey, even for me to be a part of your journey, not just see it, but to be a part of it, and know like where you've come from, what your upbringing is. You didn't have a father, right, in the home, where guys, you know, and we have friends that some people will use that excuse as, well, I didn't have a father, to not be a father, right? And you've excelled at I don't know if I had any expectations of you being a father. Like, you know, I think it was just like, yeah, he's gonna be a good dad, right? You know, I just thought you were cute with kids. So that's all I needed, as long as he looks good, right? But you've exceeded that expectation, and you never used that excuse of not having your father in the home to not be a father to our kids, right? Yeah. I remember when we first got married, like, I'm like, hang up these pictures, fix the light bulb, and then you're like, I don't know how to do any of this crap, and I'm like, why? You're like, I didn't have a dad. I was like, what? And I was like, and I remember I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But then I remember speaking to my parents, and my dad was like, Amanda, you got to understand, like, no one taught him this. And my dad reminded me, like, I didn't have a dad. Like, these are things I had to learn.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I remember my mom said, well, why don't you just teach him? Because you know why? Because you had a dad. And so I started teaching you little things, and then my dad came and started teaching you stuff. And so you know, for me, watching you grow into who you're becoming, I like that you didn't use a lot of these things that were meant to hinder you as excuses to not succeed.
Yeah.
I love that about you.
Thank you. But it was God.
Well,
and it's like,
of course it's God.
Right.
Can you just say thank you?
Thank you,
I
baby.
love you, baby.
I love you too, girl. You know, and it's funny because, you know, I just now talked about my dad, and it's just evident, you know, like, even that, you know, he wasn't around. He left when I was 4, and I would see him from time and time again, and then I had to forgive him when I was 20.
I think you're like 21.
21 years old.
Yeah.
I went to New York to do a thing, and he showed up at a show. He was in the audience. The song was about him. It was a big, you know, moment. Just came down, hugged him, forgave him right there on the spot. But the forgiveness is real. You know, I think of my dad now, and I don't have any, you know, I have zero bad thoughts about him, or that sentiment that I used to have when I would talk about him and get that angst is totally gone. So,
and you guys have built a relationship.
And we
now.
built
like
a
relationship.
relationship. Yeah, I can
We
call
go
him.
See him. Yep.
Talk to him about the Nets.
He
You know
tells
what
you
I'm
he's
saying?
proud of you. He calls you for your birthday.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's been good, you know, and it's part of the journey. Like, it's like you said, like, you know, the only thing I knew is that my mom she did a great job. You know, she was a mother and father for me. She was, you know, in hindsight, all I really needed. You know, she facilitated all of those areas. Shout outs to all the single moms that's killing it out here. It was just me and my sister.
Listen.
But a lot of things, you know, I just had to learn. I learned how to be confident, even in my quietness. I always had a quiet confidence, even around my friends. You know, I was always a leader. I was never a follower. I just never could be persuaded to do something I didn't want to do. And all of those strengths God used to allow me to be a good father, to allow me to be a good husband, allow me to, you know, be a good head of our home, and, you know, to be a strong leader for you, because you are not someone that can be with a weak leader. You know, you're a strong person. You know what I'm saying? And God positioned me just like he positioned you. And I'm so glad that, you know, my story, my journey is our journey.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's so funny, you know, to how God is, because going back to me traveling the world, you got to understand, we went all over the world to do music. And the music we did was, for the most part, about Jesus, about God, or whatever. But, and I hate to say it like that, but that's what it was about. But we had to learn how to do music in a way that allowed, communicated, and the positivity and the attributes of Jesus without necessarily saying his name, so that we can get into the doors and be positive, and so on and so forth. Even that is what positioned me to do the music that I do the way we do it now. And even when we were doing Rainbow Soul, it was perfect, you know, because I remember when we first got on, it was like, yo, man, these guys, I know that they're Christian, you know, you could tell in their thing, but they just ain't hitting us with the Jesus per minutes that was needed at the time.
One day we'd be at a bar, the next day we'd be at a church, the next day we'd be at a conference.
And it was universal. People loved the music. So we learned very, very quickly that God desires to be in everything, you know, and he can be in everything through love, through the way that we express ourselves. We don't necessarily always have to say his name for his name to be celebrated, if that makes any sense. So it was dope, you know, it was dope. And like I said, it's shaped the way that I do music now. And it's allowed me to get into some doors and some things that I wouldn't have gotten into, because now I can rap in a way that's a motivational speech, because I know how to write a sermon, and I know how to make that sermon in layman's terms for people that don't understand, you know, stories of the Bible or narratives and all those kinds of things that they're not used to hearing, you know. So God has been good.
All the time.
All the time, you know what I'm saying? You know? And my jump shot still butters, you know what I'm saying? You know, come out there. I won 5 games out there, you know what I'm saying? This morning on the court, you know what I'm saying? So
Yo,
if you in Coral Springs, come on out. Listen, when this girl shows up and I'm playing, she's never seen me play good. I think it's crazy. People be telling, yo, Konata's nice, yo. And she be like,
what
really?
Camera we on?
She be like, really? And they be like, yeah, he's crazy with it.
Let me tell you something about this dude.
Wait.
The NBA does not cut him a check.
I love the game, though.
Right? But this dude's loyalty to basketball is as if the NBA cuts him a check.
It's brought me everything. Brought me the music. It even helped with me getting to know the Lord. You know what I'm saying? I told you the basketball
caused problems in our marriage.
It identified problems in our marriage that has allowed the, you know, spotlight to be put on those things and then be corrected. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, and
So
then
you
he
got something
comes
to
home,
say?
right? So this is my thing. I don't care. He wants to play basketball, he go play basketball, whatever. I go play basketball with him sometimes.
There you go.
Problem is, your boy comes home broke. Just broke. Knees hurt, elbows hurt, back hurt, booty cheeks hurt, everything hurt, right? Then he would have complained about, oh, my back. Don't talk to me about your back. You know why? You was going mad hard, like NBA was cutting you a check. Go hang up my pictures. Go change my light bulbs. Don't talk to me about your back hurting.
I do that stuff now, right? I'm nice with that, yo. That fan
So
right
now,
there, you know what I'm saying?
anyway, so now what he does, he comes home broken and be trying to walk like, like I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, nothing. I'm good. Why? What's up? I said, but you look like something hurt. No, I'm good. As he pops a leaf.
I'm good, yo.
Yeah.
Like that Martin episode where he went to go play basketball.
He's like, yo, that's what you and Ben's be looking like, broke in.
Yeah.
You all right though? I've seen you play. You all right?
A little bit. You ain't seen the magic though. You ain't got there for the magic.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you. When I show up, it's like you get shook.
I don't know. That's what it is. It's true, yo.
You can't do that. You gotta know how to play under pressure.
That's
If
why
I was a
never made
college
That's
scout,
why I never made it.
yeah. If I was
That's
a
it.
scout, and I heard about Konata Small, I gotta go watch Konata J Small play some ball. I'm gonna give this dude a full ride, and I come and I'm like,
I have to know that
this
you're
guy,
not there.
this guy, this is who we talking about.
I have to.
This guy, he's 1 for 15.
I have to know that you're not there. You know, if you tell me you're coming, and it's like, man, I need to know. You need to be in the shadows, like watching from like.
No,
you know.
you're good. You're good. I've seen you play pretty
You
good.
see me? Okay.
I don't think I've seen you play like
Not really crazy good.
like
yeah,
crazy
not
good
killing
like you
it,
did,
no.
but I've seen you. You know.
But yeah, baby, it's been a pleasure.
So yeah, I think that's all the questions I got for you.
That's all the questions you got for me.
All right, I'll do a quick one. Would you rather?
Would you rather?
Oh, I wish
All
the kids
right.
were here.
I know
would
they
do
got
this.
some good ones.
Would you rather pumpkin spice latte
Ooh.
or a chai tea latte?
Oh, chai tea.
Really?
Yeah, yo, cause it's chai tea.
Pepsi or Coke?
Pumpkin spice. Coke now. I used to be a Pepsi person, but Coke now. I've crossed over. I understand the Coke.
You come to see the light.
Yeah.
I don't drink any of that anymore.
The fizz, the bubblies. You know what I'm saying?
Remember how addicted I used
I
to
heard
be
it
to
was
that?
good. Would you rather on the movie I just
Go,
watched?
what?
Would you rather live a short life full of love
Ooh.
or a long life where everyone you loved has passed away?
Short life full of love. I'd rather be buried. I don't want to bury nobody.
Nice. Bars like that. Where you just flip that.
There you
know
go.
what I'm saying?
Boom. Here you go for your next one. Cut me my check. All right. Would you rather a vacation in Wyoming
Oh boy.
or a vacation in Hawaii?
Oh man, Hawaii wins that. Wyoming sounds dope, you know.
Wyoming
but
sounds dope.
yeah, you know, like the acres and the land and the horses and all that stuff. That sounds dope to do with you, right?
Okay.
You and our family.
Yeah.
I would prefer you and our family. Like, but if it's just me and you, I'd go to Hawaii.
Oh yeah, me too. Okay, so I got a question for you. If you, I've asked you this before. Sorry, I have a hair in my eye. If you had the opportunity to create an alternate life, a parallel life for
boy.
yourself, right? Like if you could, I'm going to create a parallel life for me,
You
an
don't
alternate.
like this answer, girl.
What would be your alternate life?
An alternate life.
Yeah, like if you could, yeah. What would be your alternate life?
I would
You
go-
already know mine.
Right, you live in Wyoming or it's
I
one of
live in
these
some little
small towns.
town, yeah.
Everybody knows you, or very you got a little farm.
Who's this girl?
Right. My alternate life, I would live in Europe,
Okay.
right? Somewhere they spoke English, you know. And I think I would. I don't know. I think I would just have a simple life, you know. And this by simple I mean not simple to the point where it's boring, but simple where I get up, like a small town like Notting Hill in England, where everybody's just small, but it's still city enough that you can do some things, you can hang out, but not so busy that you have to be doing anything. And where everybody just accepts you, being in mediocre, whatever sort of mediocre job you have, being a librarian
very
that
similar.
makes ill coffee, and I could drink that coffee every morning.
We're very similar.
Be cool.
You're saying the same thing that I did.
Yeah, but you trying to like raise eggs from the Rudy to the Tootie, open them chickens, pigs.
Well, how are you gonna eat in Notting Hill?
Normal. I'm gonna go buy food. What you mean? I ain't trying to work hard.
But I think it's interesting because I've asked several people that question, and majority of the people would say that they would live a simpler life. Why is that? Why is that? Everyone's alternative choice is I would live a simpler life.
I don't know.
Is that not interesting?
It is interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because people don't want a lot more stress. People want to dumb it down.
But
okay,
so the reason why I'm saying that, so our
but
present reality.
But you're talking about when you say you're gonna live in Wyoming or whatever, is it by yourself?
No, like with my family.
With your family, living that simple junk.
Now the idea, because sometimes like if I could start life over again, like if I had to start over, disappear, and just new identity, all that, this would be me by myself. I'd go to some small little rural town, simple.
That's what I'm saying.
I'd be the person.
That's you by yourself.
I'd be the cashier that works at the local hardware store. That's me, just simple, right? Go to the diner. I know Mary, that's behind the diner counter or whatever. Like that's my. But my family life, yeah, I would like to. I've said this here. I would love to live off the grid for a little bit. Like I would just like a simple life. But my question is, most of the people that I've asked,
why that is.
They prefer a simpler life. So my question is, well, if that is your choice for your alternative life, why not make that your present day reality? Why is that not your normal life? Why don't we live a simpler life now?
Because that's not what we're told or we feel greatness is. That's not where greatness lies. That's where simple lies. That's why it's alternative, because you can be mediocre. I can't be mediocre in this life. I have to aspire for greatness. I have to have legacy based dreams, for my children. There's stuff that I aspire to. When you're talking about an alternate life, because that's why when I say alternate life, I don't think about it with like a family. I think about it like,
what's wrong with you?
Because then I gotta aspire to do stuff. You know what I'm saying? I got no family. I'm chilling. I'm just living life, cool. You know what I'm saying? Just hanging out, But if it's with my family, then I think there's always gonna be a need to push through.
It's funny because how I am, I think I say that I'd live a simpler life, that I want to be the person that's like the cashier at the hardware store. But because of the way I'm built, eventually, I need to own this hardware store.
Yes, own the hardware store.
I need my name on all these properties in this little rural neighborhood.
I need the Clydesdale horse.
Yes, this one strip of land. I need the Salas or small name to be on all the windows.
Yes. Exactly.
The Bank of Small.
Bank of Small.
The small bank where we got big money.
Big money, Aguan.
Go on.
Yes, Naya.
I love you, babe. This was good.
Too.
Hopefully, I'm hoping that people got to know you a little bit more.
A little bit.
I don't want them to know you too much because, you know what I'm saying? That's all for me.
You know what I'm saying?
I think they're getting to see your funnier side. I like that.
A little bit.
You're kind of funny.
A little funny. A little funny.
What can I do for you this week, babe?
I'm gonna say something crazy.
You always
because it's tired. Because I'm telling like when it's late. That's what it is. I'm gonna say something crazy. Married people talk.
Married people stuff.
Yeah. What can you do for me? You get at these feet though. You know what I'm saying? Give them joints a guy's massage. How about this?
How about I'll get you a
book
pedicure.
me a thing.
Boom.
Not a pedicure. I need a massage. No pedicure. I want to go get felt up by them Asian people.
Can we go together and get felt up on?
Yes, let's go get felt on by them Asians. They be killing it. What's that thing called? Reflexology? Psh, it's better than a massage. Start at the feet.
From the rooter to the tootie.
From the rooter to the tootie.
Where's that from?
Boomerang. John Weatherspoon. What's up? What's it?
You gotta coordinate. You gotta coordinate. Oh, he passed, didn't he?
He did, yeah. All right, so what can I do for you? Shout out to the Jesus Alive merch. Let's get that thing popping.
Popping.
Crown of Glory is the actual, you know what I'm saying?
Shout What can you do for me this week? I don't know.
What have you done for me lately? Who sings that? Ooh, yeah.
Whitney Houston, come on.
I thought you were being serious. I was about to rip you a new one.
What can you do for me?
That's Janet Jackson, by the way.
It's Tony Braxton. Stop it. Take me on a date, man. We haven't gone on a date. Let's go on a date.
All right,
I want to go kayaking.
Risha, I need you to watch these kids, man, so I can take her on a date. Okay, I'm putting her out.
Not like she's like, listen.
We went on a date. We went to Boston. We was riding around, He was riding around. Yo, somebody said to me today, yo, you was on your honeymoon, man. You know, I was talking to Lewis, me and Lewis, he's like, yo, what's up, man? Y'all, y'all get any adult time, man? I was like, yo, my wife was beat.
That's what I told
every
him. I actually
night.
told him yesterday. I was like, yo.
She's riding around the city.
Listen, he asked me yesterday. He was like, what kind of vacations do you like? So I'm telling him, right? And he's like, do you like city vacations? I was like, yeah, they cool. I was like, Konata definitely likes city vacation. I was like, we went to Boston and this fool had me tired by 8 p.m. He told me, what else we about to do? Nothing. I'm about to take a shower. I can't feel my feet. My legs hurt. My butt is numb. Like, we're done.
That's so fun.
Oh, man, but we had a good time. But I was out by 9 o'clock.
Done.
I was like,
use a body.
Done. Yeah, you didn't get no adult time. I'm sorry, babe. That's your
It's
fault.
all good. It's all good.
You had me.
That's what he said.
You was hyped though, because you was like, "Oh, she working out." Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, I'm burning 8,000 calories a day."
I know we had like 25,000 steps.
Listen, then I wake up in the morning. I'm freaking starving, about to eat your arm off, and I'm like, "Yo, this is not working. This is not vacation." I had a good time though.
Yes.
But anyway, you still need to take me on a date. That's not a date. That's vacation. I need a date. Like, I need you to take me out.
Okay.
We haven't gone on a date.
Let's do it. I'll take you out. All right, Joe. You got to know your boy. We are here. Did that camera just shut off on us?
That camera
You
said,
got to know your boy. We are here.
"You're over here."
You got to know your boy. I'm up in here.
I'm up in
Booyaka,
here.
booyaka. Konata in the house.
Konata.
My beautiful wife, Amanda. You know what I'm saying? And you watched our
Thank you guys for hanging.
Small World
Yeah.
podcast. Thanks for
Make
hanging
sure
out.
you guys go support our friends. Go get their books. Their links will be in the description and all that stuff. Support your friends. If you don't got friends that support you, you ain't got no real friends.
Check out the hats. I'm gonna have them on
Yeah,
deck. You know what I'm saying? Good city in the building.
Keep the merch. We'll hook you up.
You know what I'm saying? I'll give you Risha. She don't wear it. So.
Yeah, she don't wear it. Peace.
Everybody say, ayo, ayo. Tell 'em like, ayo, ayo. But I tell 'em we okay, though.